Born on Nevis Island in 1755, Alexander Hamilton had a difficult childhood. His father had abandoned the family, and his mother had become both father and mother to him. Orphaned after his mother's death, Hamilton went to New York to study at university with the support of local merchants. While studying law at King's College, today's Columbia University, the American colony began a revolution, and Hamilton found himself in the middle of the war. This difficult life was only the first steps of an extraordinary career that would make him the first Secretary of the Treasury of the United States and one of its most influential founding fathers. In 1787, Hamilton, along with James Madison and John Jay, wrote the Federalist Number 15. He criticized the chaos created by the states, trying to establish authority over other states, not over individuals. In Federalist Number 84, he argued that the people did not need a Bill of Rights because the Constitution already protected those rights. These ideas theoretically established the American government. Hamilton's constitutional ideas were institutionalized in important cases in the early 19th century. In 1819, in McCulloch v. Maryland, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Marshall accepted Hamilton's broad legal theory of federal power and transformed it into a legal doctrine. The court upheld the doctrine of implicit powers that Hamilton had advocated in 1791, ruling that the federal government could exercise powers that were not explicitly written into the Constitution, but were necessary and proper. This decision provided the legal basis for the federal government's broad powers, from healthcare reforms to environmental regulation to this day. Hamilton also played a role in the development of the concept of judicial review by being instrumental in the Marbury v. Madison case in 1800. Federal judges appointed by his opponent Jefferson during his presidency continued his centralized understanding of the state for many years. Appointed by George Washington as the first Secretary of the Treasury in American history in 1789, Hamilton instituted three fundamental reforms. He advocated federal government debt collection. He systematized America's banking system by establishing the Bank of America, 1791, and he enacted incentive policies to develop industry. These reforms strengthened the fledgling nation's international credit standing and laid the foundations for the modern American economy. The most obvious test of Hamilton's fiscal policies was the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. Pennsylvania farmers opposed Hamilton's taxes on alcohol, defied tax collectors, and openly rejected federal authority. In this crisis, Hamilton convinced President Washington to take a historic step. He appointed a 13,000-man federal army to suppress the first rebellion in American history. This move proved in practice the principle of the power of federal laws that Hamilton had emphasized in Federalist Number 15. The suppression of the rebellion clearly demonstrated that armed resistance by states to federal laws was illegal and was a turning point in the establishment of the rule of law principle in the United States. Hamilton's role in this incident showed that he was not only a political philosopher, but also an administrator. The idea of the state that Hamilton left behind can still be seen in 21st century America. His comments on the broad powers of the federal government, the central banking system, and constitutional rights are the products of his vision. Hamilton, the only immigrant whose portrait appears on the dollar bill today, is considered one of the most influential statesmen and most important men in American history. His story is a unique example of how even an immigrant can change America.